and she's brilliant. She's a doctor, but she has limiting beliefs in her financial area that if she really reaches her potential, that people are going to judge her, they're going to abandon her, they're going to feel like she's shining too bright. And I think a lot of people have that. It's called imposter syndrome, or it's an unworthiness conversation. So until you overcome that belief of, well, if I get too rich, if I get too famous, if I get too visible on social media, people are going to judge me.
Welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast. I'm your host, Leigh Brandon. This work started for me several decades ago when I started to see the impact I could make on people, helping them to identify the root cause of their health problems that no doctor could figure out, including serious back, knee, shoulder and neck injuries, acne and eczema issues, severe gut health problems, even helping couples get pregnant after several IVF treatments had failed. And it really moves me to be able to help people in this way. And that is why I do what I do and why we have this show. In this week's episode, entitled Limiting Beliefs and the 7 Pillars of Abundance, I spoke with Rebecca Whitman, the Magnetic Abundance Mentor and international best-selling author who hosts the top 1.5% globally ranked Balanced, Beautiful and Abundant podcast. Rebecca helps people achieve balance within the 7 main areas of life so they can experience more fun and freedom. I was keen to obtain Rebecca's views on the 7 pillars of abundance and how people's limiting beliefs hold them back from achieving abundance in their life. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this episode. Rebecca Whitman, welcome to the Radical Health Rebel podcast. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation. And to kick things off, Rebecca, could you share with the audience a bit about your background, your history, and how you've ended up where you are today as a successful, award-winning life coach, author, and podcast host?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I never thought I would be rated #1 life coach or top 7 entrepreneurs by LA Weekly or any of that. I moved to LA 22 years ago to become an actress. And although I had small parts on big shows like Friends, CSI, and 24, I never did get that big break. And I found myself working in the children's acting school business. Mm-hmm. And it was a great way to spend time with kids since I don't have any of my own. And during the day while the kids were at school, I would attend lectures with great spiritual teachers like Michael Beckwith, Esther Hicks, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay. And I started applying what I learned to my job. And before I knew it, I was making 6 figures at the children's acting school. I didn't apply it as well to my love life. And I had a series of painful breakups with emotionally unavailable men. And I decided to marry one of them, hoping he would change. He did not. And 3 years after marriage, I filed for divorce. And as my divorce was proceeding painfully, my dad was slowly declining in a nursing home. And in one of my last conversations with my dad, he asked me to write a book. And I had no idea what I was going to write. A few months later, my dad had made his transition. My marriage was dissolved, and I was sitting across the desk in my financial planner's office, and he was looking at my portfolio, and he said, "Rebecca, I can't believe it. Even though you lost your dad in your marriage, you are having your best financial year ever. In fact, you're a millionaire, and I think you should write a book empowering people what you did." So I wrote a book. It's called How to Make a 6-Figure Income Working Part-Time. And in the book, I divide life into 7 key areas, which I call them my 7 pillars of abundance. And when you have your life in alignment in these key areas, you can be, do, or have anything you want. So now I'm happily married to my soulmate. I have a hit podcast called The Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant Show. And my mission is taking people from burned out to balanced, beautiful, and abundant.
Awesome. That sounds great. So when did you first come along, or when did you first find the work of people like Esther Hicks and those kind of guys? Because I'm really into all those people that you mentioned as well. When did you first kind of come across those guys?
Yeah, I discovered Esther Hicks and Wayne Dyer and Michael Beckwith all in the same year, 2003.
Right.
So 20 years ago. And
Mm,
I had, that's when I got sober for the third time. So I was on a spiritual quest, and somebody in the meeting, um, turned me on to these great spiritual teachers, and I've been studying them ever since. I start almost every morning when I wake up. Before my mind can go negative, I'll plug in an earbud and start listening to an Abraham video on
mm,
YouTube. And it just really keeps me aligned. And I've manifested a lot applying these principles to my life.
mm. Yeah, I can remember it was 2005 when the original film called The Secret was launched.
Yeah.
And I remember pre-ordering the DVD. So that in a way
Yeah.
tells you how long ago it was, DVDs. Not even sure they exist anymore. And I think they only produced 1,000 of the original copies of The Secret with Esther Hicks in it. And it was
Yes.
interesting because I absolutely loved it. And I watched it every Friday for about a year. I watched
I
it
love
over
it.
and over and over and over. And what was interesting was I would be working with a client and I'd say, "Oh, you've got to watch this movie. It's called The Secret." And they would come back and we'd start talking about what was in it. And I would be talking about something and they'd say, "I don't remember that bit from the movie." And I'd be like, how can you not remember that bit? It's like a main bit. And then I'd say, "Oh, and what about this bit?" And they'd say, "I don't remember that bit." And I'd say, "Well, go back and watch it again and we'll talk about it next time." And they said, I watched the whole thing and I didn't see the bit that you were talking about. And what I didn't realize was that Esther Hicks had a contractual disagreement with the producer of the movie because the producer of the movie wanted the rights to all her work.
Oh,
And so
wow.
Esther Hicks said, "Well, we're not going to hand you over everything we've ever done and everything we were going to do to be in one movie." So the producer said, "Okay, I'm just going to cut you out of the movie then." And they reshot it. So The Secret, if you were to watch it today, is not the original version, which was amazing. I've never even seen the recut. I've only ever seen the original version. So that was a bit
I
sad,
saw the
actually.
original. It is sad. I saw the original version too.
Mm.
And I went to a conference where Michael Beckwith and Esther Hicks shared a stage. Michael Beckwith was the officiant of my first wedding,
Oh,
and
wow.
he also wrote the not the forward of my book, but he, wrote a comment on the back of my book. So he is someone that has been a great spiritual mentor and teacher. And because I live in Los Angeles, I have gone to many of his live lectures and classes.
Mm. Amazing. Yeah, I did actually see Esther and Jerry Hicks live in London,
Oh, that's great.
probably about 2008, I think that would have been.
Yeah.
When obviously Jerry was still alive. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah.
really dived into the Abraham teachings from Esther Hicks. I think I bought everything they ever produced. I think certainly up until about 2010, anyway. And yeah,
Yeah. Did you buy the deck of cards and
I
everything? I
didn't
love.
know. Just things like DVDs and audio is pretty
Yeah,
much
yeah, yeah.
what I bought.
They're
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, awesome. So you mentioned your book. Can you share a bit more about the seven pillars of abundance? Kind of what are they and what do they
Book.
involve?
Yeah, that's because this is the book. It's called How to Make a Six-Figure Income Working Part-Time. You can get it on Amazon or Audible. The seven pillars of abundance are spirituality.
Hmm.
I'm a huge believer in having a morning practice to set up your day for success and to tune in to spirit, whatever that is for you. The second pillar is close to your heart, Leigh. It's fitness.
Hmm.
And I believe in planning your day around your fitness, body before business.
Hmm.
Health is wealth. It's so important that we make empowered choices around our health. The third pillar is emotions. And I believe that all emotions come from scarcity or abundance. So we're either in not enough money, not enough time, not enough energy, not enough love, or we're in abundance. There's plenty of time, there's plenty of money, there's plenty of love. There is enough to go around. The next pillar is romance. And that is so important because romance affects all areas of your life. If you're in a loving, committed partnership with someone that believes in you and holds you high, it's going to be a lot easier to achieve your goals and dreams. And if you're in a relationship with someone who is always criticizing you and detracting from your goals and dreams, I know I've been in both kinds. And after romance, it's mental, which means working on your mind, whether it's listening to an amazing podcast like The Radical Health Rebel or a YouTube video or an Audible or learning a new skill like a sport or taking a cooking class or learning how to code. It's so important to constantly grow your mind. And finally, the seventh pillar is financial. And everybody thinks financial should be first. I'll make a ton of money. I'll hire a celebrity personal trainer like Leigh Brandon. He'll get me in great shape. I'll attract my soulmate. We'll go on spiritual retreats and we'll socialize with other couples and work on our mindset. But in my opinion, finances are the last piece of the puzzle to come into place because when I am spiritually and physically fit, and when I do have a great community, I forgot the sixth pillar, social, which is so important to have a community around you. When I have a great community, when I'm in abundance thinking, then I am going to magnetize financial opportunities. And I actually call myself not a life coach, but my title is the Magnetic Abundance Mentor because I really believe that when your life is in alignment, you will magnetize people, places, things, which will lead to your financial prosperity and abundance.
Yeah, I really like those seven pillars. The first one's quite an interesting one because we all, I guess, have a different view on what that is. But what does spirituality mean to you?
Well, I like this saying, Leigh. Religion is for those who believe in heaven and hell, and spirituality is those who have been to hell and come back. So spirituality means being connected to a power that is greater than yourself. It can be nature, it can be the universe, it can be God, it can be love, it could be Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Jah, Mother Mary. I mean, it can be anything that is outside of your own mind because before I went on a spiritual path many years ago, I was the one who was running the show and it was a lot of pressure. I was a really intense perfectionist and I cracked. Like I literally had a nervous breakdown because I couldn't achieve what I wanted to. I couldn't get people to act right. I couldn't get what I wanted to happen. And when I had that spiritual bottom and I let it all go and I surrendered, my life got so much better in so many ways. And I've been on that path ever since. And I have to remind myself to surrender every single day because my ego wants to control things and it's just not good for my nervous system. It's not good for my skin or anything else. I know you're an expert on skincare and wrote a book. So it's just not good for me when I get back into control.
When you say surrender, what does that mean to you?
It means the best way I could give you an analogy is to think of a truck. And when I am not in surrender, life is happening, which is the truck driving down the highway, but I'm holding on to the back of the truck on the hitch and I'm getting bloody and I'm getting gravel and I'm getting dragged and I'm screaming. If I surrender, I am just letting the universe, God, love, whatever drive the truck. And I'm sitting in the passenger seat. on a nice leather seat with air conditioning, great music. My feet are on the dash and I'm just watching the scenery go by and it's beautiful. So that is an analogy of surrender. Surrender just means to release control, because I like to say that I am in the action business. I can take action toward my goals and dreams, but God is in the results business. And no matter how much action I can take, I'm powerless over the results. For example, let's say with your love life, you can go on all the dates and you can look good on the dates and be kind on the dates. But if you're not feeling a connection, then it's just not your time. But it's about trusting in divine timing and knowing that if you take the right action for a long enough time, eventually you will meet that person, or you will, get the body you want, or you will achieve that financial goal, or maybe not. Maybe you never will. But I like to say that, this or something better for all concerned. So maybe you don't get what you want. Like for myself, I wanted to be a Hollywood actress. That's why I moved to LA. I didn't get that. Maybe I would have gotten addicted to drugs. Maybe I would have met someone who was not good for me and that physically or mentally hurt me. I really believe that rejection is God's protection. So I like to say this or something even better for all concerned.
Holly was a 28-year-old personal trainer suffering from acne when she first came to see me. Holly had terrible breakouts and felt embarrassed and like a fraud when training her clients, as she didn't think she was the perfect example of what it meant to be healthy. Even though she was a personal trainer and was trained in nutrition, she didn't realize the food that she ate caused her acne and affected her overall health. Following a few lab tests, it was discovered that Holly had fungal and parasite infections, as well as food sensitivities to gluten, egg, and soy. Holly changed her diet as advised, followed her metabolic typing diet, eliminated sensitive foods, and followed a plan to reduce her fungal and parasite infections to help heal her gut. The program worked to treat for Holly, and she was completely spot-free relatively quickly once the program was in full flow. She now has much more confidence, especially at work, enjoys her social life, and no longer has to wear makeup to go out of the house, which she really loves. If you would like to achieve the same kind of result as Holly, you can now follow a comprehensive step-by-step guide in my brand new book, Eliminating Adult Acne for Good, available now from all major online bookstores and via my website at www.bodycheck.co.uk/books. Yeah, it's interesting, the approach of surrender, because I think there is a fine line between surrender. You could call it faith, you could call it trust, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So you could surrender and just do nothing, right? But actually, if you surrender and do nothing, you're still not going to achieve anything. There still needs to be some action, right?
Well, I believe in massive action, honestly. I mean, not to the point of burnout. I teach people to do it in a very measured way and to do time blocking, but action is very important. If you sit at home and meditate all day, you're not going to achieve your goals. Even if you're the best visualizer and the best meditator, there needs to be action. But then ultimately, we can't control the results and the timing. We have to just take the action and believe that it's either going to happen or something better is going to happen.
So would you say that the surrender could potentially show you the path, but you still need to walk it?
The surrender, well, I can explain it like this. God's will is what is happening, and my will is what I want to happen. So I have to align what I want to happen with what is happening, or I will be miserable. So it's about accepting, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what's happening, and aligning myself with it one day, 1 minute at a time. It's okay to want bigger and better in the future, and I can take massive action toward that goal. But ultimately, what is happening is what I need to align myself with, because what you resist persists. And if I'm in total resistance about what's happening, then that is a very unhappy, unhealthy way to live. It's the opposite of just going with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Going with the flow has gotten a lot of people into trouble in the last 3.5 to 4 years. But that's a whole nother can of worms that I don't really want to open right now. So how did you come up with the 7 pillars? How did you kind of devise that?
I am a huge personal growth junkie. And when I was in my 20s, I was at a personal growth workshop and they talked about 6 pillars, and they talked about setting goals in the 6 pillars of what you wanted to achieve. And I just added the 7th, romance, because I had a hard time in that area and I wanted to achieve a certain goal. You could even add an 8th area, which would be creativity. That is kind of mixed with mental to me, but some people say, well, I need creativity as a separate area.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is rate yourself in each area on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is you're not even close to getting what you want. 10 is you are getting what you want and crushing that area. I don't ever think I'm a level 10 in any area because I always feel like there's room to grow. So ask yourself, what do I want to achieve in this area? And what action do I need to achieve that goal? And then take the action.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the list and I'm kind of rating myself, which is quite interesting. Always interesting to do that.
Yeah, it's always good to be aware of what you need to do to get to your next level. And there's also a free quiz on my website, RebeccaElizabethWhitman.com, where it immediately will tell you if you're in or out of alignment in that area based on the quiz.
Great. Awesome. So one of the things I want to talk about that I know is very big for you as well, and that's limiting beliefs, which I guess comes under the mental pillar, right?
Yeah, it could be mental or emotional. Yeah.
Yeah. How can limiting beliefs prevent people from getting to each pillar to a level of 10?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I just had a really powerful coaching session with one of my clients. And she's brilliant. She's a doctor, but she has limiting beliefs in her financial area that if she really reaches her potential, that people are going to judge her, they're going to abandon her, they're going to feel like she's shining too bright. And I think a lot of people have that. It's called imposter syndrome, or it's an unworthiness conversation. So until you overcome that belief of, well, if I get too rich, if I get too famous, if I get too visible on social media, people are going to judge me and think I'm a jerk, and they're not going to want to be my friend. They're not going to want to be my guest at my Thanksgiving or, holiday dinner. And that's a real fear. So no matter how many courses you take or podcasts you listen to on financial abundance, if you have an underlying belief that if I get too successful, people are going to leave and abandon me, then it's never going to happen. So we have to go down to the limiting belief. What is it that is actually driving you underneath the belief of, why haven't I made the money I want? And there is a limiting belief. You can go through each of the 7 pillars and find a limiting belief. It could be for physical, I've tried every diet in the world. I've worked out. I've had trainers, but I never get rid of my stomach, or whatever it is. It could be with social. When I let people in, really let them into my heart, they abandon me. I think you could go through each of these 7 areas and come up with a limiting belief. And what I like to do is I like to flip the limiting belief over and turn it into an affirmation. So instead of with the client that I was referring to, instead of her belief of I'm unworthy of financial abundance, is I'm worthy of all my dreams and so much more. Or if you're feeling unworthy of meeting your soulmate, you could say, I am magically and passionately in love with my soulmate. There's so many ways to turn your limiting beliefs into affirmations. It's something that I've gotten really good at over the years. So if anybody wants any advice on their limiting belief and how to flip it into an affirmation, like DM me, because that's something that I really enjoy doing. And then it's retraining your mind. So every time you think of your limiting belief, I'm not worthy of making a lot of money, then you would flip that and pause and say, okay, that's my old limiting belief. And then you would change it into, I am enjoying my beautiful, abundant life. And you just retrain your thoughts. I've had to do that with so many of my old limiting beliefs, and it really works. You really can. I mean, this is science. You really can recreate new neural pathways in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that, I find as well with clients is they can have limiting beliefs, but like any thought, some thoughts are conscious thoughts, but then others are subconscious.
Yeah.
How do you kind of navigate? Because obviously a conscious limiting belief is relatively easy to fix, right?
Yeah.
But if it's subconscious, it means the person doesn't even know they've got the limiting belief.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of...
That's why you need a really good coach, because we have blind spots that we can't see. I mean, I just ask them, what is the fear behind that? Like, let's say that they think that their limiting belief is if they lose weight, then people are going to objectify them. For example, if they're a woman, because some women carry weight because they feel safe. They don't want to be objectified.
Yeah.
I would ask them, like, what is the fear behind being objectified? And they might say, well, when I was a kid, I was molested by someone. And then you just ask them, what is the fear behind that? And you keep digging deep until you get to the true limiting belief. And it's usually something that happened age 0 through 8. And that's when our most powerful limiting beliefs get kind of stuck in our subconscious mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So something that you just mentioned, again, it's something that I use a lot in my own coaching, is affirmation statements.
Yeah.
So and you mentioned, this is actually science. Can you explain the science behind affirmation statements?
Sure. Well, our mind has grooves where you think the same thought over and over and over and over and over again. It forms a neural pathway, which is a highway in our brain where the thoughts just keep going back to that pattern of thinking. And if we don't reprogram our brain, we're just going to have our regular neural pathways for the rest of our life. We're not going to change. And that's the whole, you can't teach an old dog new tricks saying, and people get stuck and they don't understand why they're stuck. And it's because they have the same neural pathways, the same brain highways. So in order to recreate a new one, you need to first be aware of it. Secondly, okay, I like to call it the 3 A's of change: awareness, acceptance, and action. So, okay, be aware first. My neural pathway says, I'll always be alone. Acceptance. Okay, I've been thinking this probably my whole life because, I got abandoned by someone when I was a kid. So the second step would be acceptance, and the third would be an action, and the fourth would be affirmation. So actually there's 4 A's. So the action is, okay, catch yourself, stop. I'm thinking again, I'll always be alone. Affirmation. I am connected and loved by my life partner. You want to catch yourself. And how we talk to ourselves, a lot of people aren't even aware. I think meditation kind of helps give you distance between your self-talk and who you really are as a soul having a human experience. But the first step is just to be aware that you have self-talk, and then it's figuring out which self-talk is serving you and not serving you. And then, okay, you found some ways that you talk to yourself that are not serving you, and you can reprogram those and create new neural pathways. So they say it takes 21 days to form a habit, 90 days to create a lifestyle. It doesn't take that long to create a new brain highway or neural pathway. It just is about being aware and then being very disciplined and very persistent. And you can reprogram your mind. That's why I listen to podcasts while I'm driving, while I'm doing housework, while I'm walking my dog, because I'm constantly reprogramming my mind to be better.
Yeah, it's interesting in the world of health and performance biomechanics. We talk about motor engrams. So a motor engram, talking about movement. So if I said to you, okay, do you want to sit down? Your brain has an engram on how to sit down, right? Now, it might be, you might have broken your ankle when you were 15, let's say. And ever since you were 15, that engram was changed because you were in pain. So your body gets a new pathway to try and keep the pain off of the ankle. But you do it so many times, that becomes your norm, right?
Yeah.
And it could be also you broke your ankle. So now when you walk, you've got a different engram. So you might walk with a bit of a waddle or a bit of a limp, even though there's no pain there. But thoughts have engrams as well. And they kind of work in the same way as you just described. But what's quite interesting, according to one guy called Schmidt, he said if you want to develop a new engram, you have to do 300 repetitions.
There you go.
But if you want to rewrite a 40 engram, you need to do about 5,000 or possibly more. Now, I don't know whether that carries over into mental engrams versus motor engrams, but it's quite interesting that, as you said, it could take 21 days, but I'm guessing if you're using an affirmation, the more often you use it, the faster it's going to work. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
You can use it when you're in the shower, when you're washing your hands, when you're on the toilet, when you're, weave it into your day. And it's amazing how you can reprogram your mind using affirmations. And you don't have to just have designated time to, okay, I'm going to do my affirmations. You just weave them into your day, where now every time I wash my hands, I'm telling myself this is going to be the best day of my entire life. It's just programmed into my regular behaviors.
Yeah, it's interesting when we talk about affirmations and the science of affirmations. So, what you was describing is what I would call engrams. But also there is, according to quantum physics, the law of attraction. And again, we were talking about the film The Secret, which is all about the law of attraction, right?
Yes.
There are some people that believe in it, and there are some people that don't believe in the law of attraction. Where do you sit on that? Leah was a 27-year-old who worked in insurance. Leah had never made much of an effort to eat healthily, and she loved chocolate. Before the age of 27, she ate whatever she wanted, and she managed to maintain a very healthy figure and a completely clear skin. So it was a big shock to her when she broke out for the first time in her life, just months away from her wedding. Leah was in a panic because she didn't want bad skin on her wedding day. After testing, it was found that Leah had a minor dysbiosis and a parasite infection, that may or may not have been causing health issues, as sometimes parasites can be present without causing problems. I advised Leah on her nutrition and lifestyle and helped improve her gut microbiome. A few months in, there was some but not much improvement in Leah's skin, and she was in a state of panic. At that point, I tested for heavy metals, and it turned out that Leah had very high levels of mercury in her blood. When explaining the potential causes, I mentioned that fish, especially tuna, has mercury in it, and it turns out that Leah had eaten tuna for lunch every day for years. I advised Leah to use liposomal glutathione to help remove the mercury from her blood, and in a matter of weeks, Leah's skin was back to normal. If you would like to achieve the same kind of result as Leah, you can now follow a comprehensive step-by-step guide in my brand new book, Eliminating Adult Acne for Good, available now from all major online bookstores and via my website at www.bodycheck.co.uk/books.
Well, I believe in it. It's kind of what I based my whole life on. And it's worked for me. When I think and say positive things and word things affirmatively, then I will get most of what I want. I don't have everything I want, but like I said, I'm trusting that either I'll get it or I'll get something that's ultimately better. I do believe that you can manifest things. And I mean, we've all experienced where we think of someone that we haven't talked to in a long time and then they call. Or there's just so many examples of it. You think about a book or a movie and somebody says, "Oh, hey, have you read that book or seen that movie?" And you were like just thinking about it. And you're like, "Oh, wow, maybe I should actually go see it or read the book." You know, there's just so many. I mean, you can think of it as synchronicity. And this is scientifically proven. I believe it's called string theory. I'm not positive. But when you look at the world on a macro level, there is cohesiveness and synchronicity. Even though when we're in it, it seems crazy and discombobulated, there is some order and synchronicity if you really, really pull back. And I believe that is quantum physics.
Yeah. Well, there's also the theory that like attracts like, but also opposites attract.
Yes, that's true. That is especially true in love. Sometimes if you're too much like someone, if you think of a magnet, you know, the two positive sides repel each other and the two negative sides don't connect. So I think there has to be some complementary characteristics. You don't want someone exactly like you because that would be too much. But yeah, there is, but also if somebody's so the opposite of you, I think it's great in the beginning of a relationship, but then you start to really get on each other's nerves. Like, let's say someone who's a morning person marries a night person. And the morning person's like, "Hi, good morning." And they're like, "I just want to sleep an extra half hour." You know, then it doesn't work. So you want someone that has some similarities to you, but not everything.
Yeah. And with regards to affirmation statements, I try as much as possible to get, if I'm working with someone, the client to come up with the affirmation statement themselves.
Yes, I do like to ask them what do you think is the opposite of this limiting belief? I think it's great when they come up with it themselves.
Yeah. I do also find a lot of people find it difficult to come up with an affirmation statement, and I'm guessing it's because as human beings we generally find it difficult to be positive. We are hardwired to be pessimistic because, you know, in a dangerous world, there's a definite benefit to being pessimistic because that could save your life. But what I tend to find is if I go quiet and just blank my mind, the words come to me. And then I'll say to a client, "How does this sound?" And I'll repeat whatever comes to me. And I would say, nine times out of 10, they either say, oh, yeah, that's it, or they might change one word.
Yeah.
And I find that quite useful. And it's never the same from person to person. It's always slightly different, even though quite often the themes are very similar.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that similar to how you help people come up with affirmations?
Well, I asked some questions. So we drill down until we get their limiting belief. And then I asked them, yeah, how would you create an affirmation?
Mm,
And I listen. And then I tweak it a little bit. And they're like, yeah, that's perfect. And then I have them write down their affirmations on note cards. And upon awakening and before going to sleep, I have them look at their affirmations because that is when the conscious mind is the most relaxed and these messages can easily get into the subconscious. I
mm,
also learned from Tony Robbins about incantations. When you combine physical movement with the affirmation, it's called an incantation.
mm.
And that is something that I actually do when I work out because I lift weights 3 days a week. And I will, as I'm lifting the weight, say an affirmation, and it makes weightlifting a lot of fun. And I leave the workout so inspired because I've just spent 45 minutes not only changing my body chemistry through the workout, but even changing my brain chemistry because I'm saying affirmations the whole time.
Yeah, that's quite a good use of time, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah.
So you would use affirmations that could be not necessarily exercise related, but could be related to anything.
Anything. Like one of my affirmations I say is, I crush stages all over the world. I have the number one podcast. I'm a 7-figure coach. I am worthy of an opulent lifestyle. I have so much energy in the morning because I used to not be a morning person. So these are just some of the affirmations that I love saying during my workout.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. And do you ever find clients that, you ask them to come up with an affirmation and they're just really stuck? Do you find that?
Sometimes, uh, that's the difference between coaching and therapy. A
Mm,
good therapist is not ever supposed to tell a
mm,
client what to do.
yeah,
A good coach will. So if they feel stuck, then I'll just make up an affirmation and give it to them.
yeah. Interesting.
Coaching is perfect for me because I don't mind telling people what to do if I know it'll help them. I feel like they hire me to kind of get the roadmap,
Mm,
and I don't spend too much time with them trying to, if they're stuck, like I won't just sit there and let them be stuck. I'll give them a few minutes to come up with something and then I'll be like, all right, well, does this work for you? And it usually does.
mm. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's exactly what coaching is. It's trying to facilitate the answer within the person themselves. But when you
Yeah.
exhaust everything they've got and they still haven't come up with an answer, then for me, it's about giving them options and then letting them make a decision based on the options because
Yeah.
they're then still in control. It's still down to them. It's not I've given it to them, so then it's my responsibility. They've chosen from options, so they're taking responsibility for it.
Yeah, that's smart. I should probably give people more options. I'm probably a little bit too directive. So
Mm,
that's great.
mm. Yeah, the other thing that I find very useful as well is to give people options based on what I've seen other people do successfully. So the way that I
Yeah.
might word it will be what some of my other clients have found very useful is, and then I give them those options as well, rather than it sounding like it's coming from me. It's coming from other people
Yeah.
that have done those things and been successful doing them.
It's always, people learn so much through the stories and examples of others. I think the more stories you use and coaching or public speaking, the better.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. So one of the things you just mentioned was working out. Do you have your own kind of philosophy around health and fitness? And if so, what is that philosophy?
Yeah, I like to call my philosophy H&M, not the discount store, but the H is for hydration, which I'm drinking now, lemon water.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you should drink. Yeah, you are too, Leigh. I believe you should drink half your weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should be drinking 100 ounces of water. And the second is nutrition. I know we're going to talk probably another day. I'm a huge believer in supplements, and supplements have really changed my health,
Mm.
especially a liquid collagen supplement with hyaluronic acid that I take every morning and every night. It's dramatically changed my skin, my muscles, my strength, my inflammation of my joints. So I am a huge believer also in nutrition. I believe in a low inflammation diet. So my personal diet is no, and this is controversial. A lot of people do it differently, but this is what I do. No wheat. So basically no gluten, no meat, no dairy, no sugar. So I am a pescatarian. I am eating fish. I am eating eggs. And other than that, it's plant-based. I will have Greek yogurt sometimes or a whey protein bar or shake. I'm not like anti-whey protein, but that's my diet, low inflammation. And then the M is for movement. So I believe in resistance training, which I do 3 days a week, flexibility training. I try to stretch for at least 5 to 10 minutes a day, and I do yoga once a week, and then cardio. And sometimes I walk. Sometimes I play tennis in a kind of a clinic. It's a game that we play. I don't know if they have it in England. It's called live ball, where you're running around like playing a game on a tennis court. It's really fun and it's great for cardio. And the other M you could even add is for meditation and also having recovery days. 1 day a week, I don't work out at all. And I also believe in having time and stillness every day where I just stop moving my body and meditate. I'm a huge believer in guided meditation because I've tried every other kind of meditation and it just doesn't seem to quiet my mind, but I can just throw in an earbud and listen to a guided meditation. And I love Insight Timer app. I'm actually featured on that app. And yeah, so that's my philosophy in health and fitness.
Yeah, it's not a million miles from mine, to be honest. Um,
Like,
my
great.
my dietary requirements are different, but then we're all different, right? But yeah, I mean, I
Yes.
lift weights 3 times a week. I play tennis. I meditate every day. I go for walks. I don't do that other game that you mentioned on the tennis court. I'd never heard of that. What was it called again?
I think it's an American game. It'll get over
Mm,
to England eventually. It's called live ball. It's just, there's no serving. It's like a doubles game. And there's a pro. They hit the ball to the person at the baseline. The first shot has to go cross court, and then you play out the point. And then
right.
if you get 4 points off the team on the same side as the tennis pro, then you go over. So it's fun. There's a lot of running back and forth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've played something very similar to that, but yeah, it's never had a name. It's just something that we do in sessions sometimes.
Yes. Well, it sounds like we have a very similar health and fitness regimen.
Mm.
That's good. That means that I'm on the right track since you are the radical health rebel.
Awesome. And what's next for you, Rebecca?
Well, I'm enjoying coaching a weekly women's group on Tuesday at noon Pacific, which I think would be 8 in British time. That's GMT,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what
Mm-hmm.
you guys call your time.
Yep.
8 p.m. on Tuesdays GMT, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Every Tuesday, it's a complimentary women's circle. I also have a course right now, Manifest Your Soulmate in Midlife in 7 Simple Steps.
I might need to
And
do that one.
I'm there you go. And I offer a free Manifest Your Love call if you want to talk about your love life and kind of figure out where you're stuck. And I'm always doing like really fun virtual summits that are free. If you go to my Linktree, which Leigh is going to share, you can see all my offerings and great ways to connect with me and be a part of my world and my community. And yeah, I would love to stay in touch with you guys. And in January, I do also a really fun goal setting workshop that's also complimentary, where you set your goals in all 7 areas of life for the new year. And that's probably my most popular workshop.
Wow.
So yeah, just follow my Linktree and stay in touch, and you will get invites to all the fun stuff that I'm doing, so we can get you into alignment for the new year and, one day at a time for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it'd be perfect timing for when this episode comes out, because it's probably going to come out in the middle of December, around
Yeah.
that kind of time. So yeah, your course for the new year, setting new goals, would be a perfect timing.
Love it.
So yeah, I'll share your Linktree with the audience so they can connect with you on Instagram or whatever. But yeah, I'll share that with the audience. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed chatting with you today, and as we've already agreed, I want to get you back on probably in the new year at some point and talk about skin and joints and collagen and hyaluronic acid and get deep into that as well.
Yes. Thank you so much, Leigh, for having me on your show, and happy holidays, everyone. And I can't wait to reconnect with you in the new year.
Yeah, same to you, Rebecca. So that's all from Rebecca
Thanks.
and me for this week. But don't forget, you could join me same time, same place next week on the Radical Health Rebel podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to give the show a rating and a review, and I'll see you next time.